Vikings, let's win this game.
Attention, Vikings fans. The Vikings just shared a major update on their search for a new general manager. And right in the middle of all that, a draft situation popped up that could fall right into Minnesota's lap in a completely unexpected way. Seriously, one of those moments that can flip a team's strategy on the spot. And that final story, it directly involves a signing that could define this team's ceiling. Stick with me until the end, because this isn't just news. This is the future taking shape right in front of us. Let's get into it. So let's start with something that hits the core of the franchise, and it's not even on the field yet. This is front office level, because when a team decides to change who's making the decisions, everything gets affected. And that's exactly what the Vikings did. The departure of Kwesi Adofo-Mensah caught a lot of people off guard. It wasn't expected, especially after a recent extension. That alone already raises questions. But the team handled it in a different way. Rob Brzezinski stepped in as the interim, and he's set to carry that role through the 2026 draft. And here's where it gets interesting. Mark Wilf made it clear that the groundwork for a new general manager search is already being laid out. This isn't something rushed. They're organizing everything so that right after the draft they can begin interviews and find the right leader. Now think about this. It completely changes the internal dynamic, because whoever comes in will inherit Kevin O'Connell, and usually a new general manager wants his own head coach. Not here. That piece is already locked in, and that creates a delicate situation. Either it fits perfectly or it becomes forced, and if it doesn't click, you'll feel it fast. Another detail you can't ignore. This move might be tied to what happened with Sam Darnold. He was in Minnesota, left, and then won a Super Bowl with Seattle. That carries weight. That sticks with ownership, and as if that wasn't enough, the new general manager will walk into a complicated situation right away. There's a quarterback battle involving Carson Wentz, J.J. McCarthy, and Kyler Murray. That's not exactly a calm environment to step into. That's pressure from day one. And honestly, this kind of transition can either be brilliant or set things back another year. There's not much middle ground. The fan base is split. Some trust the direction. Others are already questioning it. And that tension is real. And I'll tell you this is the kind of situation only people who truly follow the team understand. This isn't surface level stuff. But stay with me, because what's coming next hits a key position that directly impacts this offense. Now shifting to the field, there's a situation flying a bit under the radar, but it could seriously affect how this offense operates. And when I say seriously, I mean it. We're talking about the heart of the offensive line. And if that doesn't work, nothing works. Right now, the Vikings basically have two names listed there, Blake Brandel and Michael Juergens, and that already tells you everything. There's no locked-in starter, no clear answer. That uncertainty matters more than people think. Brandel is a guy who's moved all over the line, guard, tackle. He's done a bit of everything, and that versatility might be exactly what puts him in position to compete here. Kevin O'Connell even highlighted how Brandel stepped into the role with limited preparation and still performed well. That matters. That shows trust from the coaching staff. But Michael Juergens is not out of this race. Not at all. He's a young player who's developing, and the staff sees growth in him. He's very much part of this competition. And there's another key factor, the draft. O'Connell made it clear there's a real chance the team adds someone at this position. That means this battle could get even more intense. And possibly shift overnight. So here's the reality. No one has a guaranteed spot. The best player wins. I like that approach, but it also makes you a little uneasy, because this position needs stability. It's not something you want to be figuring out week by week. Relying only on internal competition could be risky if no solid addition comes in. And if it goes sideways, the offense feels it immediately. Now on the positive side, competition raises the level. Nobody relaxes. Everyone shows up, ready to prove something. And that ties directly into another major decision. Jordan Addison had his fifth-year option picked up. That says a lot about how the team views him. Even without a 1,000-yard season, and with some drops, the Vikings didn't hesitate. That tells you the trust is there. He's seen as an important piece. And paired with Justin Jefferson, that's one of the best young duos in the league. That combination alone can carry games. So you start connecting the dots. Offensive line still being figured out, weapons secured, and an offense that needs to function no matter who's under center. And that just adds pressure to what comes next, because what happened in the draft landscape could completely shift the Vikings' strategy. Now here's where things get really interesting, because this feels like opportunity, but it also carries serious risk. And this is exactly the kind of situation that can reshape a draft. One moment, everything looks locked in. The next, everything changes. There was a name being projected as a first-round lock, a player firmly among the top at his position, and then, at the worst possible moment, everything changed. Avion Terrell, cornerback out of Clemson, saw his situation flip upside down. First, he had already missed a key event due to injury. That happens. But then came the second hit. During his private pro day, the moment teams really evaluate up close, he got hurt on his very first run. Didn't even get a chance to show anything. That's brutal. And that timing couldn't be worse. And there's no way around it. When a player stacks injuries right before the draft, teams start getting cautious. Talent alone isn't enough. Risk becomes a major factor, and risk changes draft boards fast. Situations like this drop a player's value immediately. Before this, Terrell was viewed as one of the top cornerbacks in the class. He had a solid first-round projection, strong technique, good instincts, and the ability to cover inside and outside. That's a complete profile. But now, there's real talk about him slipping into the second round, maybe even lower depending on recovery. And that's where things get interesting for the Vikings. This team hasn't consistently hit on cornerbacks in the draft in recent years. That's been a gap for a while. It's been a while since a truly solid starter came from that position. So imagine the scenario. A first-round talent starts sliding because of injury concerns. That could turn into a calculated gamble or a costly mistake. The Vikings hold the 49th pick, and it's not unrealistic at all that Avion Terrell could be available there. That possibility is very real now. But then comes the classic dilemma. Do you bet on talent and accept the injury risk, or do you play it safe and go with a more reliable option? That decision can define a draft class. This is real fan debate, not spreadsheet analysis. Some will say bring him in because talent is rare. Others will say enough with injury risks. And honestly, both sides have a point. But one thing is certain, this injury changed everything. And it could directly impact the next major decision involving this roster, especially at the most watched position on the team. There's something that started circulating recently that honestly didn't make much sense, but it gained traction anyway. And when that happens, someone has to step in and set things straight. Because there were claims that Carson Wentz could come in as the starter. Yes, the starter, passing ahead of everyone else. And you can imagine how that took off. It created noise fast, but then came the clear response. Kevin O'Connell left no room for confusion. Carson Wentz is depth. He's insurance. He's the guy you rely on when the season starts testing your roster physically. That's his role, not QB1, not the face of the position. And that changes everything about how you view this quarterback room. Because in reality, the Vikings built a strong group. Kyler Murray is the main name. J.J. McCarthy is still developing. And Wentz comes in as a reliable third option. That's structure. And this is directly tied to what happened in previous seasons. The Vikings struggled with lack of depth at quarterback. There were moments when they were completely exposed. Those moments cost games. Not this time. This approach is different, and I like this decision. It might not be flashy, but it's smart. You don't win a season with just one quarterback. You need a backup plan, and another one, because the NFL demands it. And yes, some people went way too far with the theory. Even a former player suggested Wentz could lead the depth chart. That stirred up the fan base. But realistically, it never made sense. Wentz is coming off injury. He has been around the league, and he fits much better as support than as a centerpiece. That's just where he is right now. And here's another point. This quarterback group might be one of the deepest in the league right now. No exaggeration. Look around the NFL, and very few teams have three experienced names like Minnesota does. That doesn't guarantee wins, but it prevents collapse. And it also creates internal competition. Even with defined roles, nobody can relax. And that can elevate the entire offense. Now, everything seems structured, well thought out, until you look at the next situation. Because now we're not talking about depth. We're talking about whether the main guy actually fits. And now, this is where things shift. Because up to this point, we've been talking about structure, planning, opportunity. Now it's real uncertainty. The kind that sticks with you. The kind that defines seasons. When this signing happened, a lot of people were excited. You don't often get a quarterback with elite-level talent. A player who has shown MVP flashes in his career. Kyler Murray arrived with that expectation. As the answer. As the solution to get the offense back on track. That was the idea. But not everyone is fully convinced. And this is where it gets interesting. Dan Orlovsky, former NFL quarterback and current analyst, raised a serious concern. And it's not just any criticism. It's the kind that makes you stop and think. He questioned how Murray fits into the Vikings system. And that question matters more than it seems. And it makes sense. Kevin O'Connell's offense leans toward pocket passing. Quick reads, precision, and control of tempo. Murray has been at his best outside the pocket. He improvises and uses his legs. That's where he's dangerous. Those are different styles. So the question becomes, can that be adjusted, or will someone have to change too much? And if that adjustment doesn't happen, you feel it quickly. That kind of adaptation isn't easy. It's not just about talent. It's about fit, philosophy, and comfort. And there's another major factor: health. Murray has missed significant time in recent seasons. He played 5 games last year. He played 8 the year before. That's a concern, a real one, because talent doesn't matter if you're not on the field. Now, when you look at his career numbers, you understand the gamble. Over 20,000 passing yards and over 120 touchdowns. He also brings production on the ground. The potential is there, and that's why the fan base is divided. Some see immediate upside, others see major risk, and honestly, this is one of those debates that only gets answered on the field. There's no definitive answer right now, but one thing is clear: this signing could push the team back into the playoffs, or become another attempt that didn't work out. And that's why everything we talked about matters even more, because at the end of the day, everything revolves around this. And that's what makes all of this even more intense, because when you combine leadership changes, internal battles on the offensive line, unexpected draft opportunities, a clearly defined quarterback room, and real questions about the main offensive piece, you can't treat this like a normal offseason. This is a turning point, and turning points define what comes next. This team isn't standing still. It's making moves, testing ideas, taking risks. And honestly, it either clicks now or the pressure comes back even stronger. That's the reality. Now I want to hear from you. Tell me in the comments what you think about this entire situation. Stay tuned. SKOL Vikings, let's go!